Hey everybody, it's Sean Smith and welcome to the third and final video of this coaching skills training series. Hopefully you found the first two videos beneficial if you've watched them already. And today in this video, we're going to be talking about free consultations, because consultations, when you get somebody on the phone one-on-one, is one of the best ways to fill your coaching practice. And before we get going here, I just want to kind of give a little disclaimer that I just had knee surgery about 7 days ago, so I've got my little leg brace on here. Just popped a couple extra pills because I know I'd be standing upright for a little bit. So if I seem a little wobbly, or I don't know if I pass out or whatever, just give me a few minutes and I'll come back here. But let's get into free consultations. One of my favorite things to train on, because like I said, it's one of the most important and most effective ways to grow your business. And there's a link on this page where you can actually download a 2-page handout with the exact flow of a consultation. This is what I use, and this is what I would suggest you use as a guide. And then it's got some few tips and reminders and some really good sample invitation language on here when you offer your coaching program. But let's go through a couple conceptual understandings here before we get into the actual flow of the consultation. So these are free consultations. There's an intention here, obviously, to let people know about your coaching program and offer them your services, but this should not be a full-on sales call. A lot of people do these calls to where all they do is just massive sales, and they're not giving any value whatsoever. They're not really present with the client. I've had plenty of those calls where I could tell the only intention is to get my credit card number. And so you've got to show up with the mentality that you're going to serve them however you can, but also part of serving them is offering your coaching services. So I think you can have a dual intention there, and that's going to be the best of both worlds, so that you can be present and help them, but also fill your coaching your coaching practice. So my favorite mindset when it comes to coaching consultations, and really so much about life in general, is called high intention, low attachment. So it's critical when you get on the phone with these people, you have a high intention of where you want to go. You have an intention of what information you want to get from them. You have an intention of offering them your coaching services, but I don't want you to be attached to the outcome. I don't want you to be attached to any particular way that you're going to get the information that you're going to get. I mean, I want you to really use this as a guide, not as a script. You know, again, I've been on calls where I could tell they're just reading a script and they're just trying to get me from, one level to the next, and they're looking for certain answers from me. And it doesn't make me feel very important. I can smell the sale coming, from a mile away. But if you really use this as a guide, then it'll help you be present and not attached to the actual words and the flow of the way it's going to go. I can tell you it'll never turn out exactly the way I've got on that paper for you, and no two consultations will ever be the same. So if you have a high intention, low attachment, that's going to be okay with you, because you still have an ultimate intention of helping them out. And sometimes that's going to look like you giving them some kind of tool to go off, and it's not a good fit for you, or you're not a good fit for them, and that's okay too. You can still serve people while you have them on the phone, even if they don't sign up for your coaching program. All right, here's a big one. I think it's so critical to honor them for their effort. A lot of times what happens is unconsciously we give people this energy like we're in charge and they are the ones that need to learn from us, and it's kind of like an elitist sort of mentality or energy that gets delivered. And a lot of times it's not intentional. But let's honor them for making the effort to show up, because by the fact that they are interested in coaching and they get on the phone call and they're willing to talk about it, puts them in the top, maybe 1% of all society in general. And so I think at some point in time in this consultation, and I would say do it early, honor them and just say something like, you know what, I really admire you for being the kind of person that's willing to take action, because that separates you from most people. And we all know that willingness to take action is what's going to be the distinguishing factor between successful people and less successful people or unsuccessful people. So I think it'd be really good, I know it's really good for you to infuse a little bit of that appreciation into this, this consultation, because that'll create a lot more rapport as well. And these are not in any kind of sequential order, you can probably tell by that. This is huge, okay? I learned this the hard way. Most people that I know learn this the hard way. But I want to give you LCLC, which means longer calls equals less clients. I haven't met anybody that would argue with that. Every book coach that I know will tell you that the longer you stay on the phone with somebody and the more issues you help them out with, the less likely they are to hire you. There's all kinds of factors that I think go into that. I think the longer we stay on the phone with somebody, the more desperate we sound. It sounds like, you know, we just are trying to do everything we possibly can to impress them or to get them in our coaching program. And that is not going to serve anybody. It's not going to serve them. It's also not going to serve you, because the longer you stay on the phone with them, the more of a chance is that you're going to satisfy a lot of their tension and leave them with what I call a false positive, that they think they're all okay now. And let's be honest, you can't really do significant work for somebody in an hour phone call or an hour and a half phone call. I'm not saying you can't give them an aha and you can't add a lot of value to them. You certainly can. But where can you add more value to them? A 3-month coaching program or an hour and a half, you know, one-time only phone call? So you're actually doing them a disservice the longer you keep them on the phone and you satisfy a lot of their tension that is necessary for them to take some kind of action. So speaking of tension, what I think is one of the best ways to have this tension is to use an incomplete framework. What I mean by that is an incomplete framework is when you tell somebody, you know, we've got this framework that we can deal with, and on today's call, we'll deal with step number 1, but it's a 10-step framework. So you don't have to really sell them on the idea that there's more work to do. They know there's more work to do because you've illuminated this path, and I spoke a little bit about this, I think, in the framework video. You've illuminated this path and they can see themselves going on, and they know that they've only taken 1 or 2 steps so far, so it maintains the tension because they know there's more to go. So having this incomplete framework and explaining to them on this consultation what that framework is going to look like is one of the best ways to keep that tension there so that they know that their life problems are not solved right here on this phone call, and there's a lot more to do. And then finally, I alluded to this with the top one here, you've got to be 100% emotionally, detached. Started to write attached. You've got to be 100% emotionally detached with the outcome of that call. And I think that's critical, that not everybody that's going to call you is going to be a good fit for you, and you're not going to be a good fit for them. But if your intention is to get a coaching client and you lock on to this one particular person who's on the phone, and your highest intention is to get them to sign up for your services, that'll show up in your energy. And if it doesn't happen, you'll walk off the call feeling disappointed. Each of these calls will have more and more pressure on them because you got to get a sale. You know, I don't want you to have a win or loss outcome off of this consultation, you know, a single consultation with a single person. I want you to be emotionally detached. Some people are going to say yes, some people are going to say no, and of course you understand that intent, or consciously you understand that, but unconsciously you're going to give off a desperate energy if your intention is to get them as a client, and if you're emotionally attached to whether they say yes or no, or if you're emotionally attached to their problems. I think one of the best things you can do as a coach is be emotionally detached for people so that you can see, you know, you can maintain this neutral perspective and see the solutions that they're not seeing and think of things that they might not be thinking about or you wouldn't see if you were emotionally attached to the situation. So being emotionally detached will make you a lot more magnetic. It will make you a lot more attractive, and more people will hire you that way. So those are just some conceptuals, and on that handout there's actually a few more tips and pointers that I want you to go over and just remember when you're on the consultation. Let's talk about the consultation itself. Now I've got these 8 steps. Again, this is a flow. This is not a script. I think it's really critical that you go with the flow of the conversation that the other person on this line is giving you as well, and you might not go in these orders. You know, somebody might jump down to this one right away early in the conversation. You've got to be willing to go there. But your high intention from an information collection standpoint is to try to get as many of these as possible. And too often people jump right in and they try to do the coaching or they try to do the pitching or they try to, seed their program. And I think that's a huge mistake. The first thing that I want you to do is build rapport. And that's just with some quick connections. Simple things. I mean, this is basic, but a lot of people don't do this. They go straight into the role of the coach. And I would just suggest you connect with this person as a person. It doesn't have to be very long. It could be 30 seconds or a minute. Just, hey, how are you doing? Where are you calling from? Oh, how's the weather out there? Or if you know something that's going on in that particular region of the world or whatever, you might just chit chat really quick. Now, you don't want this to take a long period of time. This is just a really brief connection to build rapport and to put them at ease, because a lot of people show up for these calls and they've got a lot of anxiety, they've got a lot of tension, they don't know what you're going to ask them, they don't know if they're going to answer properly. I mean, a lot of people show up to this like it's a job interview, and it's really helpful for us to ease their anxiety right from the beginning, and I think that's one of the ways to do it. The second thing is you want to ask them for their desired outcomes. And this is for this particular call. So just ask something like, what is it that you're looking for on today's phone call? We're going to get into the goals in life, their desired outcomes long-term later on. But for right now, what is it that I can help you with on today's call? Or what is it that, you really wanted to have answered? Just something so that if they have some specific intention for the call, you know about it in the beginning. And sometimes they'll say, I don't really know what to expect. It's your call and that's cool. I'll usually say something like, if you came with some specific questions that you definitely want to have answered, I want to answer those in the beginning. Otherwise, if you just want me to start poking around, I can. And that adds a little bit of humor. A lot of times they'll go, hey, just start poking. I don't know where to go. And it just kind of, calms them down. And then I know that, and they kind of know that, okay, I'm just going to take over the call here and go wherever it is that I want to go. But if you do that without asking them what their desired intentions are, you could miss out on an opportunity to give them some really powerful closure, because a lot of people want just a couple questions answered. And then you can talk about all your other coaching stuff too, but you want to give them that ability to get closure on the things that they really want to ask you. And some people will go, I saw that video that you did, or I read an article, I just really wanted to ask you this one thing. And that probably won't come out in the consultation unless you specifically ask for it. So I like to do that. That also doesn't mean that you have to answer that either right now or ever on this call, but you just want to get it out. And maybe you'll say, well, quite honestly, that's a topic that's well beyond the scope of this call. Or you could say, I've got a free video series on that, or I've got a program on that you might want to purchase. But, the scope of this call is more about this, right? So you don't have to satisfy that, but it's good to find out what it is. The third thing is I just usually ask for a what's up session. So I'll say something like, why don't you spend a minute or two just telling me what's up? What's going on in your life right now and in your business. And I just want to hear them talk. I want them to, without filtering, just tell me what's going on. Because right here, I pick up a lot of clues of what's going on in their life. I'm listening for the language that they're using, if they're really emotionally attached to things, if they're plugged into a lot of fears, if they're doing mind reads. So I want them to talk for a little bit just so I can assess their language and get an idea of where they are. Don't let this go on very long. Sometimes it will. When you give them a 1 or 2 minute time frame beforehand, they'll usually keep it to that. But sometimes you might have to jump in and say, okay, I want to bring you back to what you said earlier. You can jump in and kind of redirect the focus to one of the things they said and then kind of move into the flow of the rest of the consultation. So don't let that get out of hand, but I think it's a good piece to just let them talk for a little bit. And then I think it's good to express what your intentions are for the call, you as the coach, right? And you might say something like, my intention is to give you as much value as I can, or just help you put a target on what it is that you can really focus on to help you get through whatever the challenges are that you have. But then quite honestly, I'm also interested to see if we're a good fit for each other to do continued coaching. Is that okay? And to let them know, get it out in the open that this is a coaching consultation and I'm looking for people who want to do further coaching. That's important. And just for you to get that out and not have it be like some kind of sneaky thing that you're going to try to, get to at the end of the call is really important to just sort of, add a little bit of calmness into the conversation as well. And now we start getting into more of the traditional coaching consultation questions. And I think if you jump to this stuff too soon, then you miss out on an opportunity to create some good connection and get a little bit of previous knowledge. So then the next piece is you got to touch the pain a little bit. Now, I don't suggest you spend a whole lot of time focusing and drilling down on their pain, but you got to find out, where's the leverage. And in the last video on the Ignite framework, we talked about getting leverage. This is really important to find out what are their challenges, how is it affecting them. So I'll usually say something like, what is this costing you in your life right now? Right after asking them, what are the challenges that you're going through, and what is this costing you in your life right now, or how is it making you feel, or is it affecting your relationships, is it affecting this? You just want to find that stuff out. And I'll often say, I'm not trying to expose all your pain here, but I also want to know and need to know as the coach how you're holding on to this stuff and how it's affecting you so I can best help you. And I totally agree with that. I believe that. That's not like some kind of pitch or sales trick or something like that. So touch the pain a little bit. Don't spend a whole lot of time diving into it, but touch it to get a little bit of leverage, and then go to the exact opposite. And that's how we create this tension between the pain and the pleasure. So I want you to unleash their desire. Now, obviously there's a difference between these two words. I want you to just touch the pain a little bit. I want you to spend a little more time on the desire. Because we don't have to drill down on their pain. Their pain's already drilling down on them pretty much 24 hours a day. So we don't have to uncover it a whole lot. We do have to help them really tap into their desires a little bit more, because most people are not focusing on this. So same types of questions, you want to ask, what is it that you want in your life? What are some of your 6-month goals or 1-year goals or 1-month goals? But how will that make you feel? When you accomplish these things, how is that going to affect your relationship with your wife or your husband? How's it going to affect your relationship with your kid? If you look at yourself in the mirror after achieving that goal, how will you think about yourself? What will you say? What's the internal conversation that you're going to have? Now, I don't, fire hose them all these questions like I'm doing now. These are just example questions you can use. But something along those lines of, how is it going to make you feel when you achieve this goal? Because most people don't really dive into their goals from a feeling perspective, but we got to get them there to create long-term desire, right? Pain is really important to get somebody to move in the moment, but pain is short-term motivation. Pleasure is long-term motivation. So that's why we want to use both of them here. And ultimately, the long-term motivation is what's going to cause people to keep going through the obstacles and stay on the path when it gets bumpy and so forth. So we want to open that up, and that's some of the tension that I was talking about. Now what we want to do is ask them, what are their obstacles? What are their perceived obstacles? We want to know what they think they need to get through. So you might have somebody say, I just got to have more self-esteem, or I need to have more confidence, or I need to be more disciplined, or I need to create better habits, right? I need to learn the skills to close or to talk to people that I don't know, or whatever it is. You want to find out from their mouth what they think the obstacles are for a couple of reasons. Number one, you want to be able to use their language. Number two, it gives you a sense of their model of the world. And sometimes they're right on, and sometimes they're way off. And sometimes you actually have to say, well, I understand that what you're saying is that this is a self-esteem issue. I've actually experienced that it's not a self-esteem issue. It's a self-confidence issue. And so sometimes you give them a little bit of content, a little bit of teaching here, and redirect their focus. If you know that they're off base, other times, you'll just agree with exactly what they say, but you want their obstacles to come out of their mouth. And sometimes they'll tell you they don't have any idea, which is fine too. But this is a really critical point. So basically what we're saying is, okay, where are you now? Where do you want to go? And what do you think that bridge looks like between here and there? And that's a great conversation, great information for you to know into, transitioning into the coaching conversation. So once you've got that information, now the last piece, which is where a lot of people get really nervous, and ultimately sometimes they don't even do this step, is you've got to offer your services. Now, if you have all this information, a really simple way to offer your services is to say, okay, cool, well, based on everything that you've told me, I've got a coaching program that really helps people develop more self-esteem and develop more confidence. It really helps people create better habits. Actually, that's phase 2 of what we're going to talk about, which is what you mentioned, is to create better habits going forward on a daily basis. So it gives you a way to use their words and fit it into your coaching program, as long as you're, telling the truth. I mean, don't lie to somebody and say, oh, I've got this coaching program that's going to help you do this, and your coaching program won't address that. You're way out of integrity in that case. I just suggest you let them go and tell them, that your program's not for them. But if your program really does help people in what they think their obstacles are, then it's a lot better to use their language in explaining your program, because now it's a perfect match. This is what they say they need help with, and this is what your program helps with, right? So that's a really simple way to say, this is what I have, and is that something that you want to hear more information on? And then if they say yes, now they've opened the door for you to tell them more information about, this particular coaching program. So this is what I've kind of landed on after about 7 years of doing this and trying out a bunch of different things. And this for me works best. Again, it's a guide, it's a flow, it's not a script. And at the end of this call, you're not always going to have people that sign up with you, because not everybody's a good fit, but you're going to have the best kind of clear communication and information for you to know if it's a good fit, for them to know if it's a good fit, and to take away a lot of the, ickiness of this whole sales process. And we might decide at the end of the call that this isn't for either one of us, and that's fine too, but you'll be able to make that decision together. And if you can create this feeling of co-creation during this consultation call, then you're at such a good place for them to trust you, for them to know that you are really here to serve them, and ultimately for them to think that, and know that you're here to help them. And part of your coaching is to help them. I mean, don't ever forget that we're in this to help people. Part of helping people is coaching, right? And I personally think it's the most powerful force on the planet. And people need to know that. Sometimes you need to advocate for your coaching and for just the idea of coaching in particular during this conversation, and it'll just take a lot of the the negativity away, and hopefully this will really help you with some kind of flow that you can use in your practice, because as I said, this is one of the best ways to get clients to hire you, is to have these free consultations. So give them an opportunity to do these on your website, give them an opportunity to do these at every event that you do. One of the highest intentions from a marketing standpoint is to get clients to do free consultations, right? So hopefully that serves you. And finally, the last thing, I've alluded to it in a couple of the other videos, I want to tell you about this NLP coaching certification program that I've got coming up. Because as I've mentioned over the last, these training videos, confidence and certainty is one of the biggest factors. Maybe, in my opinion, it's the biggest factors to why people succeed in the coaching business and why other people fail. And skill set mastery is one of the things that leads to confidence and one of the things that leads to certainty for coaches. So what I've got is a course that will certify you and give you a lot of those mastery skills so you can feel good about talking to people about what you can help them do, and you'll have that physiological certainty in your body that you really can help people, because this is a full-on immersion program. It's going to be a Monday through Friday 5-day event. It's in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's 50 plus hours of immersion, right? And coaching is a skill that requires mastery. It's a skill that requires some intense study. It's not something that you can just casually learn and then, pass some kind of test and be a very skilled coach. I'm really passionate about this. This is an industry that requires mastery. So it requires study and it requires immersion. So at this program, there's really going to be immersion here where you're going to practice. You're going to learn some of the basic skills of coaching, some of the NLP tools and techniques, but you're going to practice, which actually gives you a dual experience, right? For you to learn how to coach with these tools, from a partnership perspective, you're also going to have somebody that you practice on, which means sometimes you will be the client in these practices, and sometimes you will be the coach, right? With every skill that you learn, you're going to practice it on somebody, and then they're going to practice it on you, or vice versa. So it really gives you this dual experience where you can experience the power of NLP personally for you. So you can go into the room and, you know, help eliminate a lot of your own limiting beliefs. You can help eliminate a lot of your own conflicts and values and, you know, elicit all these strategies and stuff like that, because you're going through the work as a student, as a client. But then you're going to learn how to do the mastery from the coach's perspective. So it's kind of like, you know, you're going to learn how to do the surgery, but you're also going to have the surgery done on you with people who are practicing these skills. So you've got this dual experience of experiencing NLP on a personal level, how it can apply to your life, but also gaining the skills to help other people, you know, make these changes in their lives. And I want to be very clear, this is not just an NLP certification course. This is a coaching certification course that has NLP tools in it, right? Because one of the things that happens in traditional NLP courses is, and I'm not, you know, speaking negative on any level, but I'm just saying that a lot of times in the traditional NLP courses, they teach you all the tools. And I'm not going to teach you the entire textbook of NLP. I'm not going to teach you all the chapters of neuro-linguistic programming. They're all really valuable, but that's not what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is I'm going to teach you the NLP chapters that will apply to your coaching business, right? Angle number one here is your coaching business. So this is a coaching certification. We're going to talk about a lot of things that aren't NLP specific, or actually don't have anything to do with NLP. They have everything to do with just coaching in general, coaching in you know, specifically as an umbrella, coaching. How do you create rapport? How do you do consultations? How do you do the actual coaching interactions, you know, that are coaching specific? But then I'm going to teach you all the NLP tools. So each coach needs to understand how to coach, and they also have to have a tool set. Well, your tool set here will be steeped in NLP. It'll be based on NLP because, in my opinion, as I said in one of the other videos, it's the most complete study of the human mind and human behavior out there. So if you're really skilled with NLP awareness and tools and techniques, there's nothing, literally nothing, that you can't help somebody move through. Whether it's deep, deep emotional wounds, or it's setting goals for their New Year's resolutions and create better strategies for themselves, or relationships, communication, sales. I mean, there's nothing that NLP knowledge can't address and really help people move the needle in their life. So that's what I want to give you, is those tools. But I want to be clear, this is a coaching course first. Because if you go get certified in NLP, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to know how to coach people. But if you go get certified in just coaching, you might not have the skills that can, you know, do this deep transformational work. And that's really what it's about. Is if you want to be a transformational coach, if you want to be able to really help people change their beliefs, then you've got to get certified in some curriculum that will, you know, teach you the skills of belief change. Now, as I said, I think NLP is the best one out there. There's a few others. But if you want to be truly transformational, that's what you've got to, you know, that's what you've got to do. So at this 5-day course, you're going to get a basic NLP coaching certification that will be complete when you're done with the course. But then you've also got an opportunity for an elite certification that's going to require you to do more coaching. It's going to require you to practice. It's going to require you to do some reflections. It's going to require you to show more mastery, more study. It's almost like, you know, like a master's level where you've got to do more work back at home. You've got to send me your awareness. You've got to do coaching journals and so forth. And if you do all of that, then you have an opportunity to get an advanced certification called an elite NLP certification coach. And I have opportunities to send clients to other coaches. I am not going to do very many private coaching going forward, and I will only send people that come through our events and our website. I will only send people who've gone through my course and have gone to an elite level. Those are the people that we are opening up some coaching spots on our team, so that when people need coaches, we're going to send some of them to our elite group of coaches. So there is that opportunity if you want to further your study. I can give you more information on that later. If you want more information, you have specific questions that I might not be thinking of here. So that's the opportunity. Here are some bonuses. I'm going to give you a ticket to an event that I'm doing with Romeo Marquez and Tony McGee called Captivate Your Crowd, and that's all about becoming the most dynamic speaker you can from stage or in front of a room or just one-on-one communication. It's a speakers and communication skills training. And so a lot of the things that I won't teach in the NLP course, because it's specific to speaking and training, I'll teach in this course, because there's a lot of NLP tools and techniques you can use on stage to help communicate with the crowd better, connect, create rapport and so forth, and really be a better tool of influence when you're in front of the room. So you're going to get a ticket to Captivate Your Crowd, which is a $2,000 event. I'm going to give you all of my products. You're going to get some on CDs, you're going to get some on online access, but I want to give you access to all of my products. A lot of them are NLP specific. Some of them are just general, so that, hopefully you can use them in your own life, but also you can have them as a model if you want to look into doing products, for your own coaching business, which you absolutely need to nowadays. You're also going to get 3 follow-up mentorship calls. So we'll talk about in the months after the course, where is it that you might be getting stuck on, or there might actually be some content that we don't get to in the NLP certification course that we don't really need to teach in a live setting. So I might teach it on the mentorship calls, or I'll make myself available for any of the questions that you have as you implement this material, because it doesn't matter if you learn stuff if you don't implement it. So these mentorship calls are really to help you implement and get some of your questions answered. I'm also going to give you access to the Full-Time Coach Project audio program. And what that is, if you haven't heard about it, it's a full-on marketing program with 15 modules. Ends up being about 27 modules actually, or about 22, 23 modules when you add in the mentorship calls. You've got technology tutorials. It's all about marketing, specifically for new coaches. What are the things you have to do foundationally to get your message, to identify who it is that you're wanting to help? How do you do teleseminars? What are the actual, the how-tos, the technology how-tos of how to do the teleseminars? How do you promote them on Facebook? How do you actually create your signature talks, your teleseminar talks? How do you design a 4-week coaching program? I mean, it's basically everything that I know is really critical to build a new coaching business, and none of the higher level, more advanced stuff that's just going to confuse you and overwhelm you. It's all about how do you move into doing this work full time, whatever that looks like for you. And then finally, I've got some FAT bonuses, which stands for Fast Action Takers. For the first 7 people that jump on this NLP course, I'm going to get on the phone with you personally, privately, just you and I for 30 minutes, and we'll do a niching call, where I'll help you identify who your niche seeker is or who your market is. If you've already done that work, then we can use that 30 minutes for anything that you want. If I can help you design a program, or we can just brainstorm language for your titles or whatever. But it'll be 30 minutes for you to use with me, just one-on-one, however it will help you best. So hopefully these bonuses are exciting to you. And the investment for the program, there's 2 options. One option is you take care of it all up front. It's basically $2,500. If you need a payment plan or you want a payment plan, it's $900 times 3. There's links on this page here that you can choose whichever one you want. As with all my programs, it's 100% guaranteed. Anytime along the course of that program, if you think it's not everything that you wanted, just let me know. Anytime before we end on the final day, if you don't like it for whatever reason, then just let me know. If you don't think this is going to totally change the game in your coaching business, let me know, and you can walk away with a full refund. Because I don't, I only want to deliver value, and if we haven't delivered value, then I certainly don't deserve to keep whatever investment that you made. So that's the opportunity. If it's really resonating with you, if you've ever wanted to be certified in NLP, or you've ever wanted to be certified as a coach or as a higher level as a coach, now's a chance to kind of get them both. I've designed this program with everything that I've personally experienced over the last 7 years as a coach that's missing out there, or it's being taught fractionally. And so I want to teach it all in one spot, one location. The people that are going to be in the room are just amazing. You're going to, create connections with people that are really going to last a long time for you. And I think that's it. So if this is calling you, then jump on it. We're going to be in Vegas in a little over 5 weeks' time, from the time that I am recording this. And hopefully I'll see you there. So whether you decide to do this or not, I hope this training series has been valuable for you and beneficial so you can implement some of the tools and some of my experience in your coaching practice. And let's go help people, because there are a lot of people out there that need your help. And it's time for all of us to step forward and serve those people who, without us stepping forward, would not be served, and they'll just stay in the mud. So on behalf of them, let's show up as that lighthouse that so many people need us to be. So with that, everybody, I'm going to sign off for now. Hopefully I'll see you in Vegas if this is a good fit. If not, take care. And if there's anything else I can do to help you, just let me know. Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.